If you've ever dreamed of watching a humpback whale breach 30 yards from your ship, or running a dog sled team across a field of ice in the middle of summer, Alaska is calling. But here's the thing, an Alaska cruise is nothing like your typical Caribbean getaway. If you show up unprepared, you are going to miss out on the best of it. We've done the research, we've sailed it ourselves, and today, we're sharing everything we wish we knew before we went on our first Alaska cruise. And we're starting with the one question everyone asks. When is the best time to cruise to Alaska? My honest answer? There really isn't a bad time to cruise Alaska. It comes down to what version of Alaska you want to experience. May and early June give you snow-covered mountains, fewer crowds, and lower prices. July and August bring the warmest weather and the best wildlife viewing. September has beautiful fall colors, fewer mosquitoes, and it's also your best shot at seeing the northern lights. I want to take a stand here because this is the one topic where I have a very strong opinion. If there is one cruise, one single itinerary in the entire world where a balcony cabin is not a luxury but a genuine necessity, it is Alaska. I say this as someone who has sailed without a balcony and made it work just fine on Caribbean cruises. Alaska is different. Now, is it true that you'll want to leave your balcony and get out on the open deck sometimes? Absolutely. Alaska's Inside Passage gives you dramatic scenery on both sides of the ship simultaneously, and a balcony only faces one direction. You'll want to walk the deck, move from side to side, take it all in from every angle. But on a full scenic cruising day, having your own private balcony is something close to magical. One of our favorite Alaska cruise memories was ordering room service the night before and waking up to a full carafe of hot chocolate delivered directly to our room. We wrapped ourselves in blankets, stepped out onto the balcony, and spent hours watching blue glacier ice drift silently past in complete stillness. No crowds, no fighting for a spot at the rail, just the sound of the water, the cold air, and this unbelievable landscape unfolding right outside our balcony. My advice? Book that balcony. Don't stress about trying to pick the perfect side of the ship because you'll rotate during scenic cruising and be able to see both sides eventually. But if you are able to splurge, make it a forward-facing or aft-wrap balcony. Glacier viewing days are where those cabins become absolutely unforgettable. And your itinerary is what makes that balcony moment possible in the first place. So let's talk about that next. Because before you pack a single thing, before you even look at cabin categories, the most important decision you'll make for your Alaska cruise is choosing the right itinerary. And not all Alaska cruises are created equal. There are two main routes. The first is the Inside Passage, a round-trip sailing usually out of Seattle or Vancouver through a sheltered 500-mile channel of forested islands, fjords, and glacier country. This is the classic Alaska cruise, and it's the right choice for most first-timers. Round-trip flights into one city, simpler logistics, and you still hit the iconic ports: Juneau, Ketchikan, Skagway, Sitka. The second route is the Voyage of the Glaciers, a one-way sailing between Vancouver and Anchorage. These itineraries tend to include more variety and are perfect if you want to add a land tour to Denali before or after your cruise. Of course, if you have the time and money, you can get the best of both worlds by booking a back-to-back cruise. Holland America and Princess both offer the northbound and southbound routes booked together as a 14-day round trip. If the full voyage shows as sold out, check if the individual 7-day legs are still available separately. But here's the thing most people don't check carefully enough. Does your itinerary actually include a full glacier day? Some sailings are almost entirely port-focused and never give you dedicated glacier time. That is a mistake you will absolutely regret because glacier viewing days are the centerpiece of an Alaska cruise, and every glacier is unique. Glacier Bay National Park is the gold standard. You're sailing through a federally protected wilderness area with park rangers on board narrating the entire passage. Hubbard Glacier is the largest tidewater glacier in North America. They say you can hear the thunder of ice calving from over a mile away. College Fjord features a collection of glaciers named after Ivy League and East Coast colleges. A quirk of history from an early 20th century expedition. It's less visited than Glacier Bay, but truly stunning. Here's a pro tip that a lot of people don't consider. If your ship has a thermal suite with panoramic windows, glacier days are the perfect time to use it. There is something surreal about sitting in a warm sauna or hydrotherapy pool while ancient blue ice drifts silently past the windows outside. And now, the update that every Alaska cruiser needs to hear. Tracy Arm Fjord, which had been a staple of Alaska cruise itineraries for years, is off the map in 2026 after a massive tsunami made the region unstable. Tracy Arm is being replaced with Endicott Arm, a parallel fjord with very similar scenery, granite walls, floating ice, and Dawes Glacier at the end. It is a genuinely beautiful alternative, not a consolation prize. But if your itinerary listed Tracy Arm, check your booking now so you're not surprised when you get on board. This kind of change happens more than people realize in Alaska. Build flexibility into your expectations, and remember that Alaska's wild unpredictability is actually part of its charm. Here's something most people don't think about until it's too late. The cruise line you choose for Alaska isn't just about the ship. It's about how much that line has actually invested in this destination, and some of them have gone above and beyond. Princess Cruises is famous for Puppies in the Piazza, where real Alaskan sled dog puppies come on board for meet and greets and mushing demonstrations. Holland America leans heavily into wildlife and conservation, including its moose discovery excursion at the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center, where guests can meet rescued animals like Eland, their resident bull moose. And Royal Caribbean offers one of the best viewing experiences in Alaska cruising, the North Star Observation Pod, which lifts guests 300 feet above sea level for panoramic views of the coastline. Several cruise lines also offer one of the coolest dining experiences in Alaska. You go out on a fishing excursion, catch fresh salmon or halibut, and bring it back to the ship where the chefs cook it for your dinner that night. Princess calls it Cook My Catch. Holland America offers Savor My Catch, and Norwegian has Hook and Cook at Salmon Falls. Check what your cruise line offers before you sail. This is the kind of fish story you'll tell for years. Okay, if you've ever packed for a Caribbean cruise, I need you to mentally set all of that aside. Swimsuits and flip-flops are the least of your concerns here. Here's the first thing to know. Alaska cruises are far more casual than Caribbean ones. The vibe is adventure lodge, not beach resort. Even on formal nights, dark pants and one nicer top is all you really need. Don't sacrifice suitcase space to formal wear you'll use exactly once. Save that space for what actually matters on this trip. And that starts with layers. Alaska is famous for being able to give you all 4 seasons in a single day. And your suitcase needs to be ready for all of it. The system that works, and that every experienced Alaska cruiser swears by, is 3 layers. A moisture-wicking base layer against your skin, a fleece or insulating mid-layer for warmth, and a waterproof shell on top. Your rain jacket is the single most important item in your bag. Don't bring a bulky winter parka that takes up half a suitcase. What you want is something packable and waterproof, light enough to stuff into a day bag, durable enough to stand up to real Alaskan rain. Check out the links in the description for our favorite options. Don't forget a hat and gloves, even if you're sailing in July. When your ship cruises close to a glacier wall, temperatures can drop into the 30s. For a full list of what to pack on your Alaska cruise, check out this video. And if you are going on a whale watching excursion, and we'll talk about why you need to in a minute, you'll definitely want to bring a small dry bag or waterproof day pack. The good ones pack completely flat when empty, take up almost no room in your luggage, and protect your phone, camera, wallet, and extra layers from rain and sea spray. I want to give this its own section because it deserves more than a bullet point in a packing list. Bring binoculars. Not your phone camera, not a clip-on zoom lens. Actual binoculars. Now, here's what to look for because picking the right pair of binoculars can be confusing. Binoculars are described by 2 numbers, something like 8x42 or 10x50. The first number is the magnification. The second is the size of the objective lens, which determines how much light comes through. For an Alaska cruise, 8 to 12x magnification is the sweet spot. Higher magnification sounds better, but on a moving ship, anything above 12 becomes very hard to hold steady. You don't have to spend a fortune. There are excellent options in the $60 to $150 range that will serve you incredibly well. And if you're traveling with a partner, bring 2 pairs. Trust me, when a pod of orcas show up off the port bow, you do not want to be negotiating over whose turn it is. One of the biggest concerns first-time Alaska cruisers have is seasickness. The good news is that most sailings are fairly calm. The inside passage is sheltered by islands and coastlines, so you're not dealing with constant open ocean swells. And many people who normally get motion sickness do just fine. The main exception is one-way itineraries that cross the Gulf of Alaska, where you can feel more movement. If you're even slightly prone to seasickness, it's worth preparing in advance. Sea bands work well for me, but others prefer ginger chews or Dramamine. This is the mistake that can ruin your Alaska cruise: waiting too long to book excursions. Alaska's best excursions have limited spots per day and can fill up months in advance. If you wait until you're on the ship, the things you most wanted to do may simply be gone. This is especially true for the bucket list experiences: helicopter glacier landings, dog sled tours, kayaking through a pod of orcas. If there is something you definitely want to do, book it the moment your cruise is confirmed. Sticker shock is real on Alaska excursions. Many of them run hundreds of dollars per person, significantly more than what you pay in the Caribbean. But do not let the cost talk you out of them. These are the experiences you'll be telling people about for the rest of your life. Budget for them like the priority they are. The question everyone asks: should I book through the ship or independently? The answer is, it depends. Booking through the ship costs more, sometimes significantly more. I've seen the White Pass Railroad in Skagway listed at nearly $80 per person more through a cruise line than the direct price. But if your ship skips a port due to weather or other conditions, the cruise line will refund a ship-booked excursion. Many independently booked tours require a 24-hour advance notice for a refund. Weigh that trade-off for each excursion. For independent bookings, Viator is our go-to website. You'll find plenty of excursions designed specifically for cruise passengers, and the reviews make it easy to compare options and pick what actually fits your trip. While we're talking about excursions, let's set some realistic expectations for wildlife. The Inside Passage and Glacier Bay are some of the best places in North America for spotting humpback whales, but wildlife sightings in Alaska are never guaranteed. If seeing a whale is high on your bucket list, take it from us. Don't rely on random sightings from the ship. Book a dedicated whale watching excursion. The smaller boats can get much closer to feeding areas, and the local guides know exactly where whales have been active recently. Alaska's mosquito season peaks from June through July, and in certain areas, they can be relentless. My recommendation: skip the DEET and use picaridin instead, specifically the travel size in lotion form. Picaridin is just as effective against mosquitoes as DEET, and here's the practical travel win: the 2-ounce lotion bottle form can go straight into your checked luggage if you're flying. The other thing nobody warns you about is the daylight. In summer, Alaska barely gets dark. A sleep mask is not optional on Alaska cruise, it's essential. I'd also recommend packing a couple of magnetic clips to keep your cabin curtain closed, because no matter how nice the ship is, there's always a gap. Now, technically your phone will probably work in Alaska. It is still the United States after all, and most major carriers have coverage in the main ports. But here's the reality: Alaska's internet and cell service is dramatically slower and less reliable than what you're used to at home. So, before you leave home, download offline maps, save your excursion confirmations locally, and preload shows, podcasts, or playlists for sea days. Do that, and you won't miss the ship's Wi-Fi at all, unless you genuinely need to stay connected for work. And the money you would have spent on a cruise Wi-Fi package? Put it towards an excursion instead. That's a much better trade. Let's talk about money, because Alaska will humble your budget if you're not ready for it. An Alaska cruise costs more than a Caribbean one. Not a little more, often significantly more once you factor in everything. Alaska's best experiences usually require specialized transportation: planes, trains, charter boats, and wilderness guides. And those costs add up quickly. Then there are the port fees and taxes, which can be 2 to 3 times that of Caribbean itineraries. Part of that comes down to logistics. Alaska's cruise ports are remote, environmentally sensitive, and expensive to operate. And some fees are still rising as ports like Juneau invest heavily in cruise infrastructure and waterfront improvements. Now, take it from me, an Alaska cruise is definitely worth it. But the added expense does mean you should build a realistic budget before you sail, especially once you add in excursions, gratuities, specialty dining, drink packages, spa treatments, hotel before the cruise, and airfare. Hey, if you're starting to feel overwhelmed adding all of this up, I hear you. An Alaska cruise budget has many moving parts, and it's easy to lose track of where the money is going. We put together a cruise budget planner that breaks down everything so nothing catches you off guard on your final bill. It's part of our Ultimate Cruise Planner, and it's linked in the description below. All right, here is one final tip that takes an Alaska cruise from great to something you will genuinely spend the rest of your life talking about. Add a land tour. Several cruise lines offer packages that combine your 7-night cruise with a multi-day land tour into Alaska's interior, typically anchored around Denali National Park. Both Holland America and Princess own lodges in the area and operate scenic trains that connect the cruise with a completely different version of Alaska. Celebrity Cruises and Royal Caribbean also offer comprehensive cruise tour packages with their own curated land experiences and local guides. The coastal Alaska you see from the ship is breathtaking. The interior Alaska you see on a land tour is something else entirely. Vast tundra, grizzly bears in open country, moose along river bends, and mountains so large they generate their own weather systems. If a full cruise tour isn't in the budget, arrive a day or two early and explore Seattle or Vancouver before you embark. Both cities are genuinely worth exploring, and building in that buffer protects you from a devastating embarkation day if your flights are delayed. If there's one thing we learned from our Alaska cruise, it's this. The details matter. The right itinerary, the right gear, and the right excursions can completely change your Alaska experience. Be sure to check out our Alaska packing video. It covers exactly what we'd bring again and what we'd skip next time. And let me know in the comments what's highest on your Alaska bucket list. Just remember, whether you take a helicopter ride to the Juneau ice fields or explore every port on foot, adventure awaits.